This is a Disaster Central special report. My name is David Vela, reporting in from Houston, Texas, coming on the air to provide breaking news and live coverage as the situation in Cuba continues. My name is David Vela, reporting in from our headquarters in Houston, Texas. Joined joined on the air with Mike, um, Deer, and Brady. How are we doing? So let me quickly bring you guys up to statistics with what is going on. You're taking a live look right now on satellite imagery of Hurricane Melissa, currently a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 145 miles per hour, a sustained pressure of 945 millibars. Current positioning about 130-ish miles southwest of Kingston, Jamaica. This storm is expected to rapidly intensify over the next couple of days or so, and it will continue to intensify until it makes landfall in the coast in the coast of Jamaica. And let me quickly bring you up with the hurricane statistic bar. And let me quickly do a little bit of this, folks. Chat, if you want to say anything, or stream, if you want to say anything, you're welcome to do so.
Melissa right now is at 145, 941 millibars, 145 miles per hour, and it's just south of Jamaica. And um, needless to say, if you live in Jamaica, um, you need to seek shelter in like an evacuation area, a shelter, like what do you call it, a storm shelter or whatever, like an evacuation area. You need to go there.
And the National Hurricane Center has shifted the where the eye would landfall more west, which would potentially push more storm surge into Kingston.
It's not a good thing. Here's your hurricane bar statistics up and to the side, and you can see that the situation continues to intensify. Kingston, Jamaica, could see rainfall totals of up to 36 inches, which would be equivalent to about 3 feet of rain, and this would be accumulated with storm surge levels of up to 9 to 13 feet of storm surge in some of these locations. Um, the situation you're also taking a live look at some of these live cams here in Jamaica. This is Kingston Harbor, and you can see that the ocean of the harbor, has gone up significantly compared to normal, and this has a lot to do with the fact that um, the hurricane itself is already causing or is already pushing storm surge towards the area, towards Kingston and towards much of Jamaica. Another thing to note concerning reports specifically regarding the amount of people that have evacuated from Jamaica, the government of Jamaica has confirmed that at least 218 individuals have taken shelter or have evacuated to across 31 shelters across the island, and this is 281 compared to, or 218 compared to 2.89 million individuals. Um, this is concerning in multiple different ways, and we urge individuals to take shelter and to evacuate as inland as you possibly can, because this Hurricane Melissa, is going to bring catastrophic impacts towards Jamaica. We're talking winds of potentially Category 5 gusts if the storm continues to intensify the way that it has been intensifying. Multiple reports as well indicating that folks are refusing to evacuate from their communities. And that is particularly concerning because if Hurricane Melissa does continue to intensify and makes landfall at this intensity or greater, it will be the strongest landfalling hurricane in Jamaican history. And considering the fact that this hurricane will be stalling and has been stalling over south of the island for days, not only is this going to be, and not only is this going to bring a catastrophic rainfall threat, but this is also additionally going to bring a storm surge threat and a wind threat. So this is a triple disaster that is waiting to happen. Multiple within the last hours and the last few days, this storm has intensified multiple times. Yesterday in the morning, Saturday morning, we were talking about a tropical storm with winds of 70 miles per hour. It had only just been upgraded to a Category 1 hurricane. And then through the night, it was upgraded to a Cat 3 120 mile per hour system. And right now, as we speak, it is a major Category 4 with winds of 145 miles per hour. And looking at satellite imagery, the structure is just impressive. The eye is so clear as day. The core continues to shape up and become even more mature. Convection continues to occur within the outer bands and the inner flows, and it's just going to continue to be like this up until potentially landfall. So, I mean, team, anything else to note?
I would like to note that this system has already caused 5 deaths, 4, I believe, in Haiti and the 1 in the Dominican Republic from flooding.
Yes, so it's just more of an example of how deadly Melissa has already been and what it could potentially be in the coming hours. You're looking on your bottom bar, the tropical weather warnings graphics, and you can see there that 3.4 million people are under some sort of hurricane warning, and these involve the entirety of Jamaica and southern portions of Cuba. Tropical storm warning is also in effect for Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Over 2.4 million individuals are under some sort of tropical storm warning in the area. So this is a very dangerous situation. And remember, a hurricane warning means that hurricane conditions are likely to occur within the next 24 to 48 hours. And a tropical storm warning means that tropical storm conditions or winds of above 39 miles per hour is likely to occur within the next 24 to 48 hours. Reports, we did get reports earlier that there was sirens going off in Jamaica, in some of the communities in Jamaica, although I can't necessarily confirm that. I think there was video of it, but until I get confirmation from individuals, then I have no choice but to just report that as potential fact.
There was also video circulating around of police officers with megaphones practically begging for people to leave their communities.
And that's incredibly concerning. The fact that people are refusing to evacuate is a very worrying thing to thought. This hurricane will continue to intensify. This hurricane has been getting increasingly better. And this is a report coming in from the Jamaican government. From Jamaica, the Jamaican government is now urgently requesting satellite equipment, and I assume this is because the National Hurricane Center has noted that catastrophic infrastructure failures are expected after this hurricane. So that is something of note.
I believe the radar in Kingston was also having some issues already, so
That is, I believe, true. I think the last radar that we've gotten from Jamaica was a couple of hours ago.
And after this passes Jamaica, it will the National Hurricane Forecast Center is predicting that it will make landfall in Cuba as a Category 3 near the city of Santiago de Cuba, and will continue after that to the Turks and Caicos as a Category 2.
And while we wait for more news to come out, if you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, please send them in the chat. Whether or not this hurricane will hit your location, what the impacts could look like for your area, we'll be here to answer them for you as this situation is increasingly becoming more and more dire the closer we get. If you're in Jamaica, preparation should have been completed last night as impacts are already beginning to be felt. And these impacts have been ongoing for a couple of hours now. Since around 2 in the morning last night, we started seeing reports of gusts, tropical storm force gusts, getting reported in some of these locations. We do not know of any word of power outages yet, but that will likely change the closer that this storm does get to Jamaica. Additionally, the situation continues to deteriorate. The Jamaican government has warned people, and a report did come in from a local government official that said that there was only 10 people that in 4 communities, right? So let's just picture this. There are 4 communities in a certain region of Jamaica. Out of those 4 communities, only 10 people got into an evacuation bus to get evacuated to a more secure location. Now, we don't know specifically how many people are in these locations, but what we can tell you is that only 10 people did get on these buses. And considering the fact that only 218 people have evacuated towards their shelters out of 2.89 million individuals in Jamaica, this could potentially be the worst case scenario in terms of impacts. This storm is already expected to bring catastrophic impacts towards Jamaica. Shortages of power and water are imminent. Infrastructure grid failures are certain to occur after this storm happens. And considering the fact, again, as previously mentioned, that Melissa is expected to be a massive rainmaker, talking about rainfall amounts of up to 36 to 40 inches, which would be around 3 feet of rain, as well as 9 to 13 feet of storm surge in the coastal areas, and potentially wind gusts of up to 130 plus miles per hour. We are getting geared up for what could potentially be one of the worst, if not the worst, Jamaican hurricanes in Jamaica's history, at least as far back as records can go. So that is something very important to keep in mind.
I also would like to point out that I believe Jamaica's only major airport, it sits on a peninsula that is just south of Kingston, so it's right next. It's completely surrounded by water. It's surrounded by a bay, and surrounded by the Caribbean Sea, and I believe it's only a few feet above sea level. And with that storm surge, that is going to very easily go underwater, which would cut off their only major airport.
And we want to report that Hurricane hunters have now crossed the Cuban border and is now heading towards Hurricane Melissa. Estimated time of arrival will be in about an hour, perhaps 45 minutes to an hour. The jets or the hurricane hunters have been flying as fast as they possibly can to get into this storm to see whether or not the storm is continuing to intensify within the area. We are continuing to track the situation. If you do have any questions for us, make sure you send them in the chat. We'll be here all for about an hour or two to keep you informed of what the situation is. We are still awaiting an official update from the National Hurricane Center, which is bound to come within the next hour or so. So we'll be waiting for that as well.
You want to know real quick, the hurricane hunters you were talking about. I'm tracking them right now, and they're over the Cayman Islands right now, or close to them. So they will be arriving in Hurricane Melissa. Yeah, like you said, shortly. So.
One of the comments that have come in is from Colin Jessemeyer. He says 2 airports. Now, I don't know if this is referring to there being two airports.
I believe he means two major
Yeah,
airports.
two major airports. So, yeah, Kingston and Montego Bay. So, um, the two main airports. One of them is under a serious threat of flash flooding and storm surge, and the other one in Montego Bay could be seeing some rainfall amounts of up to 2 feet of rain. So a flooding threat nonetheless continuing. Hopefully, in the best cases, we can see, and hopefully in the best case scenario, we can see that, or that in the best case scenario, we see that both airports are able to function post um, hurricane. However, that'll be really dependent on the situation there. Uh, there is two major airports in Jamaica. To clarify, there is two major airports. The one that Brady was referring to was the one in Kingston that is surrounded by a peninsula. That one is under a major threat. That one is the biggest that one is the biggest airport that's under threat of catastrophic impacts from the storm, because it is directly going to be getting the dirty side of the hurricane. And in fact, if we really measure it, the core is really around 15 to 20-ish nautical miles from Jamaica, and it's probably going to be on or off by around 15 nautical miles, but it's really close. And the storm is just insane. The eye has begun to wrap up, and as a result of that, as a result of the eye beginning to wrap up, we're pretty much now playing the waiting game to see whether or not this storm is going to continue to intensify. And that's what we are awaiting. If you do have any questions, comments, or concerns for us here in the chat, make sure that you send them to us on the YouTube chat. We'll be here to answer them for you.
Also, I would like to bring up, I saw multiple reports on just across social media from multiple Jamaicans who they believe that the storm will not be as bad as people think that it will be. They believe that a lot of the meteorologists outside of Jamaica are hyping this storm up, or even hoping and praying that it hits them. And they're saying that they believe that they will be able to handle it. And so a lot of them are choosing not to evacuate because of that. And I just want to say, for any Jamaicans who are watching, if any, this storm will be something that you will not have seen. The island has not seen, since official records began. I believe the strongest hurricane that made landfall in Jamaica was a Cat 3 or 4, depending on who you ask, and that was in 1988. But if this makes landfall as a Category 5, on top of the rainfall that is projected to fall on Jamaica, this will be a catastrophic scenario. You're talking about extremely damaging wind gusts. You're talking about catastrophic mudslides. You're talking about very, very high storm surge. You're talking about flooding. All of this, it will affect the entire island, basically. Some parts will get less impacted than others, but it will be an island-wide disaster, basically. So it is a very bad scenario, and if you are able to get to a shelter, I would recommend that you do. Please do not stay along the coast. Please do not stay in a flood-prone area along the coast that is just a few feet above water. There is a high likelihood you will die. Like, it's extremely imperative that you leave and you go to a shelter if you live along the coast.
And agreed, these are very harsh words. However, considering the fact that this hurricane could potentially be a Category 5 when it makes its landfall, it is not necessarily too much of an overhype event. The situation is continuing to deteriorate, and you're taking now, this is a main concentration look on satellite footage of Hurricane Melissa, and just the structure is just amazing, to say the least. The structure has continuously gotten better and better and better um, over the last couple of hours, and it's just continuing to get better, and it just won't stop getting better because that's what these storms tend to do. This is the first Caribbean hurricane um, of the year, and it's already proving to be likely a devastating one. I would suggest, as Colin says in the chat, it's important that we look after each other, check on our neighbors, and it's important to be smart and to be safe. If you know of someone who cannot evacuate, please offer them assistance. Um, it is quintessential that you evacuate off the not necessarily off the island, but more inland, because this is going to be hands down one of the worst disasters, if not one of the most destructive disasters of the year for the Atlantic hurricane season, because we haven't gotten much hurricanes making landfall, except for Chantal and what was the other one? Imelda making landfall in
I'm
Bermuda.
not sure.
So,
I know we've had two Cat 5s, Kirk and Humberto, but they didn't really hit anything. They were just out in the Atlantic.
And to put things into perspective in terms of records, this could possibly surpass Hurricane Gilbert as the worst hurricane in terms of damage in quite a long time, and potentially we are
Oh.
potentially discussing um, more destruction if the storm continues to intensify. This is a very flat terrain island, and flooding could potentially reach miles inland. So that's something of note.
If I can say something real quick, one thing I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about is there are some rivers that on Jamaica, or in Jamaica. There are a few that go through Kingston, and I assume there are other ones throughout the island. I do want to say also, if anyone lives along those rivers, it would be wise to also evacuate from those rivers too. Of course, all that rain will, fall on the island, and it will cascade down through the rivers, and they will definitely burst their banks, and they will definitely start to cause damage around them too. So I believe it would be in your best interest if you live along one of these rivers to also evacuate from those areas and go to a shelter too. Um, you can definitely face those river areas will definitely face catastrophic flooding and or mudslides that will be very damaging and will probably happen all of a sudden and you won't see it coming. So
That happened during a Hurricane Helene in the Carolinas as well.
yeah.
I muted myself for 30 seconds. Sorry, guys. Um, let me just say this. There's been a lot of talk from meteorologists outside uh, Jamaica that have there's been a lot of talk about comparing this storm to some other storms. If I had to compare this storm, I would compare it to two main storms. I think the best storms to compare this to realistically would be Hurricane Harvey because of how long it stalled over Texas and over a flat land with tons of people in it. Um, because this storm was going to be doing the same thing. This storm will be stalling over the island for, and has been stalling over the island for a couple of days, and will continue to do so for at least another 2 days or 3 days. So that's one storm to compare it to. But another thing that I would compare it to would honestly be Hurricane Dorian in 2019. Not necessarily because of how good its structure was, but just overall how much storm surge is predicted for such a flat area and a flat island. Um, we could potentially be discussing storm surge totals that are going to be unsurvivable if you're not in the right if you're not in the right if you're not in the right places. And considering the fact that this storm is continuing to shift more and more towards the west, we could possibly, in fact, be talking about storm surge values, uh, storm surge values that are as unsurvivable as those into major cities like Kingston. Um, so that is something to note.
I do want to say, Jamaica is pretty mountainous, but there are like flat like areas where like the floodplains are, and those are the most dangerous areas. For example, I think the biggest risk next to Kingston would be the town of Portmore, because if you look at the storm surge maps, Portmore is very close to sea level, only a few feet above sea level. So I believe the town of Portmore is one of the most at-risk areas, along with the area of Port Royal and all the way to the international airport off the coast of Kingston. I think those areas are the most at-risk areas when it comes to at least near Kingston.
I would like to point out that Portmore has several large canals running through the city, and another area that could potentially see destructive storm surge is the Seaview Gardens, which is built on a swamp. So it's right next to a large river, um, and that's near Kingston.
Yes, and it's just unfortunate. You bring up a lot of. Mike brought up a good point about mountainous areas. One of the other things to be worried about is going to be landslides and mudslides. Um, so over just in general, this could be a potential. This could be a triple disaster, if not a quadruple disaster, between the rain, between the storm surge, between the mudslides, landslides, and the wind. This is looking to be one of the worst, if not the worst, hurricanes. Again, as I sound like an old radio, but this is going to be one of, if not the worst hurricane to hit Jamaica in recent memory, if not all time. And you need to take people in Jamaica need to take this very seriously, because the threat will continue to persist, and it could potentially get worse as the threats continue to be assessed.
I I would like to note um, that the outer eye wall. So for the past few scans on the radar, on Jamaica's radar, in the past few hours, there was this kind of question of whether or not an eye wall replacement cycle would happen, and people were hoping that it would maybe weaken the storm, um, and at least help reduce the impact it has on Jamaica when it makes landfall. Unfortunately, it looks like the outer eye wall has now it's now fully compact and solid. There's no moat around it, around the inner eye wall. There's no signal that it's going to undergo an eye wall replacement cycle. So in the short term, at least, um, nothing will really stop this storm from strengthening, and it could definitely, I believe, it could definitely achieve Category 5 status as early as tonight. Honestly.
Well, I think this is something that you did bring up about IWL replacement cycles. I think that the IWL replacement cycle would have been the worst case scenario, because that would mean that the hurricane would actually explode in size, and that would give much more of a deadly chance of rainfall and storm surge into the area. We see this a lot, and a lot of times, a lot of instances. One of the hurricanes that I can recall that blew up after an IWL replacement cycle was Hurricane Beryl. Hurricane Beryl was a very small and compact storm before the IWL replacement cycle just really caused it to blow up. And I think that if an IWL replacement cycle does happen, it could make the storm a lot weaker, but it could also make it more resistant to environmental factors. And I would actually argue that an IWL replacement cycle would bring more of a catastrophic water impact to the areas of Jamaica, just because when the storm gets naturally much bigger than it actually is, or not much bigger than it actually should be, we're bound to have catastrophic rainfall floods of potentially 3, possibly 4 or 5 feet. So I think that I think that I do think that an eyewall replacement cycle is bound to happen at some point, but I really hope that it happens after it makes landfall and not necessarily um, before it makes landfall, because then we'd be talking about a much more violent storm in terms of water.
Uh, David, did you read out the key messages from the NHC
Uh,
about Jamaica?
the ones that were brought up a couple of hours ago.
Yeah, did you read that at all? Because if
Uh,
not,
no, I haven't, but you can.
okay. So basically, the National Hurricane Center, in their key messages for Jamaica, they say, seek shelter now. Damaging winds and heavy rainfall today and Monday will cause catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding and numerous landslides before potentially devastating winds arrive Monday night and Tuesday morning. And this is the part that is very strong wording. They say extensive infrastructural damage, long duration power and communication outages, and isolation of communities are expected. Life-threatening storm surge is likely along portions of the southern coast Monday night and Tuesday morning. And in my opinion, this is one of the more stronger worded um, messages from the NHC, and it really puts into perspective how bad this is going to affect Jamaica. Jamaica will see so many forms of just impacts: rain, storm surge, winds, mudslides, landslides. It's just and it's scary to think about it that communities might be isolated and help might not arrive there for days, if not weeks. So it's very concerning to say the least.
Very much strong worded there. Thank you, Mike. And as you can see in our headline there, that just updated a couple of moments ago, um, extensive infrastructural damage and isolation of communities are expected. What this essentially means is that there will be zero news that comes out from within Jamaica for potentially weeks, if not months, because this storm is expected to be so violent that it will knock out power systems. It will cause failure of power grids, um, uh, internet services, satellite communications. These will likely go down in Jamaica um, for a couple of weeks, and in the isolation of communities, you know, hearing that and reading this in the key messages, isolation of communities, that is a very, very strong worded statement. Um, it is a very dark statement to be made. The last time that the National Hurricane Center used isolation of communities for a storm like this was Hurricane, I think, Dorian in 2019. If it wasn't Dorian, it was Hurricane Laura. Um, but Hurricane Dorian, uh, there was something worded in the key messages for the Bahamas. It was worded very similarly, except for in that instance, um, it said something along the lines of isolation communities guaranteed for multiple months, and we saw how Dorian turned out. So it's a very scary thought. Um, if you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, please send them in the chat. We'll be here to answer them for you. We have 150 viewers watching us right now, and based on what our polling data shows from our YouTube community poll, 40% of individuals are watching in Jamaica. So MJ made a comment here saying they will get international help. Anybody want to say anything to that?
Um, I mean, that is true. They will get international help, but um, the most important part in any disaster, obviously, is the human impact, the number of people who die, the number of people who are injured, the number of people who go missing. So I I'm very concerned about what the human impact is going to be. I mean, the material costs, Um, that will be also pretty bad, but obviously human life is more important than material objects, at least, in my opinion. So I'm more concerned about just how many lives will be taken by this. I'm very concerned about what will happen um, to multiple communities across the island.
Yeah, and you know, international help is one thing, but the problem is that when we're talking potentially about two major airports getting affected, if not potentially destroyed from flooding, um, international help will be very difficult uh, to get into. So that could actually prolong, um, the suffering that these people will be going through. And you can see here. Let me just show you right now. Let me just focus up the Jamaica camera here really quickly. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. Get this, and then because there's a lot of this talk about the impacts will probably not be felt. Uh, Let me show you. This is a live shot at from this is a live shot from harbor from Kingston Harbor in Kingston, Jamaica. And as you can see, it is already windy. It's significantly windy. Um, Winds are gusting at, I couldn't even tell you. I would probably have to assume um, 30 to maybe 20 to 30 miles per hour already. And actually, let me quickly just verify that. Um, if anybody in the team can take over for me just for a bit before I get the.
Yeah. There's one more thing I wanted to say. Brady brought up earlier about the airport um, near off the coast of Kingston. There's also the fact that there is a terminal, um, a, a a port terminal next to Kingston, and that is also within the very storm surge prone areas of Kingston. And so I would say that that area will also get pretty heavily damaged as well. And so it would be kind of extremely bad to have both the main airport into Kingston and the shipping terminal um, or the port damaged as well. There will be basically no real way for any aid to get in. Um, no ships will be able to dock. No planes will be able to land. Um, so it's pretty pretty concerning for Kingston that the island of Jamaica might not be able to get aid, at least in the short term, just after the disaster. So it's quite concerning.
Yeah,
There are other airports across the island to
yeah,
mention.
and let me just quickly read out the winds right now. Currently in Kingston, Jamaica, it is 78 degrees Fahrenheit, or if you don't use Fahrenheit, it is 26 degrees Celsius with heavy rain already beginning to fall across the area. Winds right now are at 13 miles per hour with gusts above 37 miles per hour. So we're already beginning to gust into tropical storm force gusts. And this is technically tropical depression force gusts. So it's already the first stage of gusts that are already beginning to be felt. The forecast just looks incredible here. And I say this with all due respect. Um, Rainfall today, the rain today we've already seen about an inch of rain in Kingston, and we're expecting to see another 4, 6, 7, 1, about 20 something inches of rain from here on out. And yesterday, on Saturday, we saw around zero point 0.4 inches of rain fall, and we're expected to continue to see this rain continuing to fall uh, within this area. The next hour, the next hours look very much the same: rain, 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 and rain. And in fact, look at the live cam right now. You can see that the waves are already beginning to crash on to the shore. Um, the waves are crashing onto shore. You can see the rough surf because of the winds. I'm willing to bet right now that the actual wind gusts here are probably beginning to gust into the 40s, if not 50s, um, for some of these areas. So don't be surprised if we see some power outages begin to be reported tonight, potentially because of just how because of just how much the impacts are already beginning to be felt in these areas. So that's something to be noted. And as we continue to bring live coverage, Disaster Central will be continuing to bring live coverage to the best of our abilities, the best coverage we can possibly provide. I'm joined in the studio. My name is David Vela, reporting in from our headquarters in Houston, Texas. I'm joined in the studio with Brady and Mike in our team.
I would like to point out how similar this scenario is to Hurricane Maria, Category 5 Hurricane Maria from 2017. Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico, which is also an isolated island in the Caribbean, and did significant infrastructural damage to the island, which prevented a lot of aid getting in. So this might be a similar scenario to that.
And it should be noted, we lost. There was at least 3,000 fatalities that were lost as a result of Hurricane Maria. So
I do want to say real quick. I don't know. I don't really remember the previous rain map, but the new rainfall map for Hurricane Melissa shows that the majority of the island, so I would say like 60 to 70% of Jamaica, will receive rain of at least 20 inches, with an isolated spot on the eastern side of the island receiving 30 plus inches, and they note possibly up to 40 inches of rain on that area. And also, real quick, we're talking about Jamaica, but we've talked about Jamaica a lot, but there's also Haiti that's also receiving quite heavy rainfall, and the NHC notes that the western side of Haiti, the southernmost western peninsula, it will receive isolated 16 inches or over of rainfall, and that entire peninsula will probably receive around 8 to 12 inches. And as for Cuba, which is the next stop for the hurricane after it makes landfall in Jamaica, that area will receive between 16 to 20 inches of rain around that area too. So it's important to note that Jamaica is not the only country that will receive. I mean, it will receive the most devastating impact, that's for sure. But there are also other countries around Jamaica, close to Jamaica, that are going to be affected as well, that will face possibly widespread, if not catastrophic, flooding and mudslides and landslides as well.
yes, and just truly worrying just how much this storm has just improved overall. Here's your hurricane stats. 145 miles per hour, category 4 with a pressure of 941 millibars. It is a very deepening, intense hurricane, and it'll probably continue to act like this for a couple of more days. It's expected to be a category 5 by possibly tonight, as reports are indicating. I don't have much to say right now, but
the recon is about to get into the storm soon.
good.
They are just on the outskirts of the storm. Let's see. The storm looks really good right now in infrared. A very solid core. It has I just saw yesterday from the microwave imagery, the inner core of the storm is really, really solid. I don't know how it is right now. I would still assume pretty solid since it's, still strengthening, but it has a really solid core. Um, its eye is symmetrical, nice, clear, a warm eye. Um, Warm eyes are important for hurricanes. It signals that it's able to continue to intensify and maintain its strong intensity. Um, and yeah, it's moving really, really slowly right now. Like, what is it, 3, 4, 5 miles per hour? Very, very slow. Um,
Yes, and let's just let me just quickly, as we're updating graphics here, um, you're taking a look on your. You can see we have a slideshow now pulled up for Hurricane Melissa. You can see that those are all the locations that we have so far listed as major hotspots for potential impacts. So if you are in and around some of these areas like Buff Bay or Kingston, you can pretty much expect similar impacts um, for your communities. Uh, just in general, the overall key message is that this is going to be very violent, potentially um, gusts of 145 plus miles per hour, uh, and that could go even higher if all things considered, when all things are done and over with, it could go very much higher. But that's gonna be really, we're just waiting for that. We're just waiting right now to see what's gonna happen because we're not sure. Satellite imagery. This just looks. I mean, this hurricane just looks beautiful. The eye has wrapped around. There really isn't any signs of it stopping. The only thing that's stopping this storm from really just blowing up is itself, and I don't think that I've had the ability to track a storm quite like this, in which it will be so record breaking, so historical for Jamaica.
I wanted to point out real quick. I saw a video, an unconfirmed video, but from Jamaica Observer on Twitter. Uh, they say that the mayor of Kingston, Andrew Swaby, um, is trying to persuade the homeless who are just chilling on the streets, really, to go to the shelters and stay there. They're just hanging around outside, and I wanna bring up again the fact that again, a lot of people in Jamaica, from what I've seen online, they are saying that they don't believe that this storm will be all that bad, that they've faced this kind of situation before, that they're even saying that things like, oh, the country's meteorologists outside of Jamaica are trying to fearmonger and trying to scare them. But I do want to say again, like, this is a worst case scenario for Jamaica. It's definitely not being hyped up. It's definitely not being over exaggerated. This will be a very horrible situation for Jamaica when the hurricane makes landfall. So if anyone is in Jamaica and is listening, make sure to contact friends and family. And if they're refusing to evacuate, please try to convince them, especially if they live along the coasts of Jamaica. If they live in a very prone area to storm surge and flooding, make sure to tell them, please, um, you know, evacuate further inland or go to a storm shelter or something. It's imperative that they are not there when the full brunt of the storm makes itself known. So.
Agreed. We've just got an updated report from a station in Kingston. They are reporting now that a gust of 61 miles per hour has been recorded on their sensor thingy. So that's one hell of a gust, and we probably already missed it from our live cam. So that is kind of crazy. For those of you that are tuning in, we're continuing live coverage on what is now unprecedented Hurricane Melissa, as it is continuing to practically defy all odds and continue to intensify as it nears over Jamaica.
Um, I'm also seeing another report on social media from the Jamaica Star of people swimming um in the ocean right now. So please do not enter the ocean. Um, it's, the swells and possible riptides will make it extremely dangerous. It, preparation for the storm should have been made yesterday, if not 2 days ago. Please do not enter the ocean and try to swim around. That is definitely not a good thing. Um,
Yeah, and okay, so here's a comment from Tyrone Phillips. The Jamaican government had a news conference this morning warning its residents. I think Jamaicans are taking this seriously. I know we're tracking this in the Bahamas. Well, the reports are indicating quite the opposite. Local government official or with local government sources that are familiar with um, the federal Jamaican government say that only 218 individuals, as of 12:30 p.m. Central Time, or 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, only 218 individuals have evacuated out of the 2.89 million people that live in the area. Now, obviously, that that's very small for a population. I would get the argument of, oh well, there's also people that are taking shelter, or that there's people that are bunkering down, have everything ready. But the problem with that is that it's pretty much now ignoring the fact that we have a couple of people now, really just tons of people now that live on the coastline, very flat floodplains, and they are going to be having to face the brunt of the catastrophic floods, catastrophic storm surge, and if you're in the mountainous areas, potentially catastrophic mudslides. So, it's still interesting. Uh, 218 people from latest sources say that 218 people have evacuated to 34 different locations that are designated as shelters. Yes.
I did see videos of people leaving at the airports yesterday. So at least some people are just leaving the island entirely.
Yep, that could be it.
I also want to note real quick. So we were talking about the landfall on Jamaica. I do want to say the landfall and how long the storm stays over Jamaica, like it's going to affect Jamaica for multiple days, around 2 to 3 days of just strong winds and extremely bad flooding and mudslides and all of that we've said before. So it's not going to be one of those hurricanes where it hits, deals its blow, and moves off within several hours. It's going to be a multi-day thing. So prepare to, people in Jamaica should be prepared to stay in those shelters, not for a few hours or several hours, but a few days at least. Um, and
And
so yeah, and so they should have they should make preparations for that.
and the fact that this system is so slow moving just really makes it so much more dangerous. Not just the strength of the storm itself, but the fact that just moving very slowly over the island, which is gonna bring hurricane and tropical conditions to the island for multiple days, is just it's just gonna make the flooding so much worse.
We have a question in from Miss Carr saying that the fact that it changed its course, is that good news for Jamaica? No, not really. I mean, it's changing its course towards the
The
west,
west.
which means that it's actually going to be even worse for populated areas like Kingston or Port Moore, in which we could possibly see even more rainfall than what we're forecasting, and we're already forecasting 3 feet of rain, pushing more 4 feet of rain. So I wouldn't say that's necessarily good news at all.
Also, also the fact that the right side of hurricanes tend to be the worst. At least for, Melissa, the right side will be the worst, and it moving more to the west is just going to expose Kingston to its right side, and that right side is going to push um, storm surge into the bay, and that's going to be the big issue. Even though Kingston might not receive the full brunt of the winds, it might receive the full brunt of the storm surge. So that is definitely not going to make it any better as well.
Yep, agreed. Let me show you a live cam of Kingston Harbor, in which it's now dark, so it's pretty much nighttime there. But um,
Miss Carr once again asks, will there be storm surge in Portmore? Yes, Portmore is actually one of the most at-risk areas of storm surge. Anybody who lives in Portmore should definitely evacuate and leave that area. That is one of the most prone, storm surge prone areas, and that will most definitely flood and cause quite a bit of damage in Portmore. So if anyone is in Portmore, they definitely need to evacuate from there. That is definitely one of the most at-risk areas for storm surge.
let me update graphics really quickly. Give me a moment.
I believe Recon should be entering the course soon. I was able to track it, but I think they turned off their public corresponder that actually gave away their location because I can't see anymore on um, flight radar. But I assume they're about to punch through the core of the storm soon.
Recon's turning.
They're turning
Yeah.
away?
I don't know. They might be turning
Okay.
towards. They might be turning towards the eastern quadrants.
Oh, okay. But yeah, as the sun has set now on Melissa, and it looks very intimidating in the dark, I have to say. Very, very scary look for it in the dark. Definitely a high-end hurricane, and
The
once again, it's gonna be
just
really bad.
I just want to just look at the camera, guys. I mean, the storm surge is not well. I wouldn't say storm surge yet, but the waves are just increasingly getting. The water's just increasingly getting taller and taller and taller and taller. And it's just going to continue to get taller and taller and taller and taller until probably till it makes landfall, and it's just it's just insane how insane the intensification phase has been for this storm. 24 hours ago, we were talking about a Category 2 hurricane that was just beginning to get indications of major hurricane strength, and now we're talking about potentially support of Category 5, just based on structure alone, which is not necessarily a good basis for a Category 5, but um, nonetheless, it has indications that it could be. So.
Okay, so I do see that Recon is it is diving into the storm. Basically, it's going to try to hit, like I said, it's gonna try to go through the core of it soon. So we'll have a better idea of its intensity and its pressure once that happens. We didn't really mention that. Basically, what hurricane hunters do is they go through the center of the storm, the eye. They try to go through it, and they try to determine what is the pressure and what is the wind speeds down towards the surface. So that is what they're trying to do right now, and that will give a better idea as to how strong it is. And in my own personal opinion, I believe right now it probably is sitting around 150, 155. I don't know if it may be possible that it had reached Category 5 maybe earlier. Maybe not. Maybe it will reach Category 5 later later tonight, if not tomorrow. But as of right now, I believe it's around 150,
Wow, this is
155.
shocking. Okay, so breaking news. This is coming in from the Met Service of Jamaica. Um, the website has crashed. The website is not available. Um,
I believe that happened yesterday as well. I was trying to access it, but it was giving me an error.
yeah, so the official website has crashed again, which means that we can't use the metadata anymore for any radar. So that's not good. That's not good. Um, so, update for Recon. Mike just mentioned it, but Recon is now turning towards the storm and it's diving very fast, on a very fast diving approach towards the center of Melissa. Hurricane Hunters will give us vital data to see whether or not we can actually prove that Melissa will be a Category 5, or if it ever did strengthen close to a Category 5. But my bets are that we will probably not see a Category 5. I think it'll be Category 4. That'd probably be my bet.
In the near term, or for
Like when it
its
dives,
entire.
like when it dives right now, I very much doubt that we're gonna see a Category 5 support right like from this
Okay.
recon mission.
Yeah. I am seeing a report. This isn't I can't check because, like David said, the Met Service for Jamaica is down. The website is down, so I can't check. But there is a report from somebody that says that the meteorologists in Jamaica are warning those living along the coast to be prepared for life-threatening storm surge, which they say could now reach heights of up to 15 feet. So 15 feet, yeah, that basically unsurvivable storm surge. If at sea level, if your house is at sea level, 15 feet of storm surge is basically unsurvivable. That will basically flood the entire first floor of your home, and force you to go on the rooftop, basically. So definitely, like I said, if anyone who lives along the flood-prone areas, the storm surge-prone areas of Jamaica, which is basically Port Royal, Portmore, around the airport, basically, and for those like that live immediately just on the coast, like around the coast area. If you can see the water, basically, it would be wise to basically just evacuate.
I just want to give a quick update. Satellite estimations for the last couple of hours have had a Category 5 for the last couple of hours on satellite estimations with a final, this meteorological thing that we use called the TMAX. It's called the Dvorak system, and essentially it measures the potential intensity of a hurricane based on what it looks like on satellite. And right now, latest scan, well, not necessarily scan, but this is a scan from a couple of hours ago. This scan had a satellite estimation of 918 millibars with winds of 143 knots Vmax. So it's not necessarily accurate until Recon can get there, but yeah, essentially it looks to be, it could potentially have some support for Category 5, but we don't know yet.
I do also want to say, so as I stated before with the NHC's key messages, there will be extensive infrastructural damage likely. So what that means for people who live on the island is no telecommunication services, no broadband, no Wi-Fi, no cellular service. So there will be basically communications will be down in
Whoa.
Jamaica for at least a week, if not multiple.
Mike, take a look at this. Wow. That is
What?
incredible structure. Look in
Yeah,
group discussion.
that
That is
that is very impressive.
that is nearly wow. That is like nearly perfect structure. Let me not gatekeep this. Let me show you guys what I'm looking at right now. Um, something that I don't use. Yeah, okay. Let's just use this. This is a satellite. This is satellite imagery from um, Melissa. Let me just quickly download this. Let me show you guys what that looks like, what this storm is looking like right now. It is terrifying. Guys, this looks perfect. Hold on. Here it is. 3, 2, 1. Here it is. This is Hurricane Melissa. And what you're seeing here is just how it's just showing a perfect, a very close to perfect eye wall. It's just, it's jaw dropping. I have no words to say because it's just been, this is incredible to see. It's just, I have no words.
Yeah, the structure is very solid. Um, and one thing that that is important to note is, David said it earlier, but I will say it again. There's basically nothing to weaken the storm except the storm itself. Wind shear is really low. Um, there is enough water content, moisture in the air to sustain it. The ocean heat content in the water, as well as the sea surface temperatures, there is plenty of that too. So the only thing that will really weaken it really is just itself from a eye-wall replacement cycle, or because it's moving so slowly, it might start running into maybe some upwelling issues eventually. But yeah, basically there's not really anything limiting it. It really could go as high as it wants to, as long as it, doesn't shoot itself in the foot.
Well, it can go as high as it can, as mathematically can
Or
be
yeah,
calculated.
yeah.
Because we won't ever see a hurricane 400 mile per hour. That's just not mathematically possible.
No, yeah, no, yeah.
But wow, it's just, I don't think most Category 5s that we see nowadays are just so sloppy. Ian was a very sloppy Category 5, and then because it was going through a process of eyewall replacement cycle, Michael was practically the same, except it just looked much better. It, this is insane. Tracking this storm, it's just been insane, but just processing the storm in general is a different kind of process. It's incredible what hurricanes can do and just how destructive they can be just from something like that. So just gotta go with it.
I do want to say, I know a lot of people, when they are faced with this kind of scenario, big hurricane, they want to, when the eye reaches them, many want to go outside and to, look around, look at the damage, and stay and take pictures and videos and stuff. I know I saw a lot of that happening during a lot of hurricanes like Dorian and Michael and the like, but I do want to say, if you are in the eye, please do not go out during the eye. You might be tempted to, but the calm conditions that you experience at the eye are only temporary, and obviously the back end of the storm will continue to move forward, and it will crash into your location, and the hurricane conditions and the powerful winds and all that will just continue again. So if it's not required to, please do not move outside and move across the landscape during the eye. It's imperative that you stay in your shelter until the hurricane has basically completely, passed on, and the hurricane wind gusts at least die down and are no longer, pose a risk to anybody.
Yep. And sorry, I'm tired. And yeah, I mean, it's incredible what this storm has been doing. Live cam, the cameras here just really do show just how powerful the water can be. The camera is continuing to shake from the wind, and they're just gonna continue like this for the rest of the weekend and maybe mid next week.
Yeah. I do want to note also, Santiago de Cuba in Cuba, the area that it's the current track shows it making landfall very close to that city, and that's a pretty sizable city. That I don't know the exact population, but I would say like at least like 100,000 or so people live there. And that is on the right side of the track as well. So like I said earlier, the right side of the storm is usually the worst part because of the storm surge that will be funneled in. And I see from Santiago de Cuba that the bay is narrow and opens up, and a lot of that storm surge might get pushed in, and could be amplified a little bit too because of how narrow it is. It could be amplified, and it could be even badder or worser than than usual. So I would say Santiago de Cuba might also face some pretty bad storm surge as well. Of course, the storm will be weaker by then. Just quote parentheses, just a category 3, but yeah, 120 mile per hour winds and storm surge is still not good at all for that area as well. So yeah, multiple storm surge impacts across multiple nations. It's pretty crazy.
All right, folks. We'll be live for another 7 minutes. We'll end the stream from that point.
You don't want to wait until the recon?
I mean, I don't really see the point for that. Recon might
Alright.
Recon might take a bit. We'll get a video update on Recon if necessary. But oh, look at that. Travel Canada has now put a avoid all travel to Jamaica now, has changed the risk level due to Hurricane Melissa. Actually, I think we can wait. I think we could wait. I don't know. Maybe. Let's see.
I see from multiple accounts now, they say that the merger eyewall replacement cycle
Wow,
has
yo.
what?
Okay, so this is a computer model. The HHAPS has a 905 millibar hurricane making landfall in eastern Jamaica or western Jamaica. 160 knots. So 180
Yeah.
miles per hour. Yeah.
The merger eyewall replacement cycle that I talked about, basically try to do an eyewall replacement cycle, but it failed. And instead the outermost eyewall that was trying to replace it merged in with the inner eyewall, and it failed. So that has been fully completed. It has fully merged, and now, yeah, like I said, there's not anything that will impede Melissa now. No limits, nothing like that for the short term at least. Yeah, it really could possibly go up to Category 5 in at least the next few hours, honestly.
Yep. And we'll let you know through a video if it does go up to Category 5 tonight. Live stream. We will live stream tomorrow as well, around 5 o'clock too, and this will go on for much longer. We'll be talking 4 or 5 hours potentially of coverage around the same time tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Any closing thoughts you want to say, Mike?
Um, yeah, just everyone on Jamaica should be, prepared to face a very, very catastrophic situation, Like I said, prepare to stay in shelters for at least a few days. Make sure, you have you prepare. Make sure to take with you, bottled water and non-perishable food items if you can, you know. And yeah, just do not be near the coast in one of those storm surge prone areas. Just don't be there. And if you do live in one of those areas, make sure to evacuate from there. And yeah,
All right. Well, that's gonna do it from here at Disaster Central. We will continue live coverage and video updates whenever necessary. This has been a Disaster Central special report. My name is David Vela, reporting in from Houston, Texas. Joined by along the team with Mike and I think Brady, but I think he may have left. We'll see you soon, and yeah, we'll catch you soon. Stand by. Thank you. Good night.
bye y'all.